In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Shape Spacing group in the Design tab of the Time Savers add-in. The Shape Spacing group is there to allow you to quickly and easily expand, compress, or set the spacing between the shapes on your slide. So first I'm going to show you how to do the vertical spacing. So if I want to change the vertical spacing, I just need to select the shapes that I want to do it for. And then I'm going to go and use these buttons. These ones over here are for the vertical spacing. So I can expand like that by 10%, or by smaller amounts if I do this one is only 2%, or I can compress like that by 10%, or if I use this one, it'll be by 2%. Now, if I carry on compressing, you'll see it ends up overlapping. And the reason for that is because when it's expanding and compressing, what's actually happening is it is working with the top of the very top shape and the top of each of the other shapes. And it is expanding or compressing that gap over there from the top to the top. So that's why they can end up overlapping if you carry on compressing like that. So just be aware of that. That is actually what's happening. Okay, so that's the vertical spacing if we expand or compress. Then let's also have a look at these buttons over here. These are also for vertical spacing. This is for us to set the spacing. I'm still going to come to this one, but first this one over here allows us to set the spacing to a specific value. If I have filled in a value, it'll use that, but if I haven't, it will just distribute them evenly vertically like this, the same as if you were to use this distribute vertically button. Okay, but if I haven't, but if I have filled in a value, so let's just go and fill in a value here quickly. If I fill in 10, this is 10 points. Okay, so now when I click on here, it's going to do a 10-point gap. Now the way that the points work is 1 inch is the same as 72 points. Just so that you're aware of that, 1 inch is the same as 72 points. If you hover over here, it does tell you that 1 inch is 72 points. So if you want your gaps to be 1 inch, then you'll need to put in 72, and then you can make your gaps 1 inch like that. If you want half an inch, it'll be 36, and so on. Okay, so that is also how you can do it. Then you can also have you can make your shapes right next to each other by putting in a 0, so there's no gap. And then you'll end up with your shapes like that. You can also have negative values. So if you want them to overlap slightly, it'll go like that. Now this is overlapping by 10 points in each case. Okay, so that's how those buttons work, or that button works. Okay, so now another option is if you like the spacing between two shapes. So say in this case, I like the spacing between these shapes, and I want all of these shapes to be spaced the same as these ones. Then what I can do is I can use this button over here. It will take these two shapes that are selected, and it will find out what that spacing is, and then it will use that and apply it to any other shapes that I want to use or that I want to space. So what I'm going to do is I select the two shapes that I want to base my spacing on, and I click on here. That will then fill in the spacing in this field over here, the same as if you had typed it in. And then you can go and select all the shapes you want to space like that and click on here, and it will then space them using that spacing value. Okay, so you can get the spacing for two shapes where you are already happy with the spacing, and use that to space other shapes as well. So that's what that button over there is for, to get the spacing. Right, then the horizontal spacing works exactly the same as the vertical spacing. So if I want to change the spacing for shapes, then you just select them. And then over here I've got the expand by 10% or by 2%. And I can compress by 10% or by 2% as well. Then over here, if I fill in nothing, it will just distribute them horizontally. But if I fill in values, it will distribute them, or it will space them by that amount. So if I fill in a 10, it will make the spacing 10 points. If I fill in a 0, it will mean that there will be no gaps between them. Also, the same thing as what I did with the vertical, I can also choose to get the spacing for two shapes. So say actually I like the spacing between these shapes over here. I can get that spacing. I can see, okay, that is the spacing. Now when I go and click on here or select those and click on this button, it will now make all of them have that same spacing. And that is how you use the Shape Spacing group in the Design tab of the Time Savers add-in. Have a fantastic day. Thank you. Goodbye.